Hola, soy yo, Vicky, otra vez. Having a few technical problems this morning, so anyway, aquí estoy. I'm here now. En el video de hoy voy a hablar de pronombres indirectos. So, in today's video, I'm going to tell you about indirect object pronouns. Are you scared? Yeah? Are you scared? Don't be scared. So, pronouns basically replace nouns. So we don't have to keep repeating the names of things, and it could be things or people, because nouns are the names of anything. Car, house, these are nouns. Names of people, Pedro, Carmen, they're nouns, or also any sort of object, the dog, the cat, etc. These are all nouns. And we use pronouns when we don't have to keep repeating the actual noun itself, the full. So once it's evident who or what we're talking about. So for example, if I'm talking about a cat or a dog, when it comes apparent who or what I'm talking about, I will then use it or him or her or me or you. Okay, these are pronouns, they replace nouns. And you will find that once you learn the way that pronouns work in Spanish, you will be able to understand so much more. Some funny little sentences that you look at and you think, oh my goodness, what the hell does that mean? Once you understand the way pronouns work, you will be able to understand those much more. So let's just look at the pronouns, the indirect object pronouns. Now, these are indirect object pronouns I'm going to explain. Direct object pronouns are in my level 2 Break the Language Barrier book. For the indirect object pronouns, I'm in the level 3 book on page 32. So if you have the book, that's where you will find this exercise. Don't worry if you don't have the book. You don't need the book to follow the video. You can follow it perfectly well. And if you want to buy the book, you can buy it on any Amazon site, through the website, or through my Facebook page. Okay, so let's have a look at indirect object pronouns in English and Spanish. So you see that in English, indirect object pronouns are me, you, him, her, us, you, them. Whereas in Spanish, it's me, te, le, nos, os, les. Okay, so they're the actual pronouns themselves, and later we're going to look at some example sentences. But what I want to do first is explain exactly what is an indirect object pronoun. ¿Qué es un pronombre indirecto? So we're going to take a sentence here. I gave the book to Pedro. I is the subject of that sentence, the person doing the action. I gave the book to Pedro. And of course, the action is gave. Yeah? And gave is from the verb to give, which in Spanish is dar. And I gave is the past tense, the preterite tense. So that's the subject is I, the action is gave, and it's what I gave that is the direct object. So the book is the direct object. And it's who I gave it to Pedro, is the indirect object. But this first sentence is not using pronouns, we're using the full names, the book, to Pedro. So in Spanish that would be di, I gave, el libro, the book, a Pedro, to Pedro. So that sentence is more or less the same order as it is in English. So that's not too bad. Where it gets complicated is when we want to replace the nouns with pronouns. I gave it to him. So notice that in English you still use the verb first. I gave the book or I gave it. The it follows the verb in English. And the indirect object too, to him. So that's the order that we put our sentences, even using pronouns. Look at the difference with the Spanish sentence. Se lo di. So, in Spanish, in fact, you say to him, it I gave. Because if it's a conjugated verb, like di, in other words, it's not the whole verb, the infinitive. If it was the whole verb, dar, you could put it onto the end, but we'll look at that as we go through some examples. But if it's a conjugated verb, in other words, if it's been put into a person and a tense, the pronouns go first. That is the biggest difference between English and Spanish pronouns and the way we use pronouns, the order. So once you sort of click that you're saying it the wrong way round, you could say, but it's the right way round for the Spanish. The other thing that's difficult here is, you see, really it should be le, lo, di, because him, in fact, is le. But what happens in Spanish is if you have two L pronouns together, le, lo, les, lo, le, la, we'll see when we come into doing some examples. The first one reverts to se. So instead of le, lo, di, we will say se, lo, di. Now you imagine if you saw that sentence, se, lo, di, and you didn't know how pronouns worked or understand about pronouns, you basically wouldn't have any idea of how to translate it. So it's very important. Pronouns are so important. And my recommendation always, whenever you're trying to translate into Spanish or think of how to put a sentence together, the verb, go to the verb first, sort your verb out. So if you were translating, I gave the book to Pedro, first of all, identify your verb. And the verb is gave. The person is I, first person singular. The tense is past tense. I gave, not I give, or I will give, or I would give. So identify your verb. What person is it? What tense is it? Then conjugate it, and then fit the rest in around it. So your verb is always the most important thing in Spanish. Okay, so there you go. So see the difference, it's a big difference. Is I gave it to him becomes se lo di. Quite difficult until it clicks. Hopefully, throughout this video, we can make it click. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Now, number one, she told me, now I've put the it in brackets, yesterday. Sometimes, like you could just say, oh, she told me yesterday. Sometimes the actual indirect object, the direct object pronoun, is implied and not spoken. She told me it. Now, or you could just say she told me, but the it is implied. So some people would look at that, if it was she told me, you think, oh, me is the direct object, but me is not the direct object, because the direct object is what she told me. Maybe she told me a story, maybe she told me the truth, maybe she told me a lie, but she told something to me. So whatever she told me is the direct object, and me is in fact the indirect object. So we end up with me lo dijo ayer. To me, it, she told or said yesterday. ¿Vale? She told me it yesterday. Me lo dijo ayer. ¿Comprendes? Okay, let's look at number two. So this time we're starting with the Spanish. I've sort of changing it up a little bit. Each one will be English first, then Spanish, and then Spanish first, then English. So, número dos. No nos los comprábamos a menudo. So, it's we, not because of the nos. because of the ending on the verb. So identify your verb first of all. The verb is comprábamos, from the verb comprar, in the imperfect tense. So we know it's we didn't buy or used to buy. Again, I put that in brackets. We could either put it in or not. And who did we buy them for? Us, ourselves. So we didn't buy, we didn't used to, or we didn't buy ourselves them often, or buy them for ourselves often. Yeah, and we know it's imperfect because it's something we did on a regular basis in the past, or we didn't do on a regular basis in the past, repeated action in the past. No nos los comprábamos a menudo. We didn't used to buy ourselves them often. Okay, número tres. The English is they didn't send it to us. So when we put it into Spanish, so it's they didn't send. So we take the verb to send, which could be enviar or mandar. You can use either. And they didn't send it to us. So in Spanish, we would say they didn't send us. So us, it, they didn't send. Yeah, so it's completely a different order. Yeah. To us, it, they didn't send. Gosh. It's very hot here at the moment. I feel like my hair's just like, sorry, I go on about my hair sometimes, but hair's more important. Okay. Number 4. So we start with the Spanish. No se lo hacemos cada día, or todos los días. Yeah, now this is difficult because a lot of people, they look at the se and they'll think, oh, it's he or she. Go to the verb first. Hacemos. What's the ending on the verb? It's we. We. And it's a negative, so it's we don't make. Yeah, we don't make her, it. So it's, the order is completely different. So it's no for her, it we make every day. Which in English we would say we don't make it for her every day because we put our verb first. We don't make, then the pronouns. We don't make it for her, but in Spanish we're saying for her, it we don't make. And in fact, even the negative, the no, is at the beginning. So it's the order is different, so it's difficult. Another example. So in English, we've got he paid you for it in cash. So the verb, what's the verb? Paid, from the verb to pay. The person, he, third person singular. He paid you for it in cash. So in Spanish, we'll be saying, you, it, he paid in cash. Te lo pago en efectivo. Yeah, ¿comprendes? Anything you don't understand, any questions, please leave me a note in comments or send me a message. A nice message. Okay, numero 6. Now, this is also where it can get tricky, though in some ways easier. Let me explain. So let's look at the Spanish. Ella va a mandármelo mañana. We can use enviar instead of mandar. Now, also here we have two verbs. We have va, which is a conjugated verb from the verb ir, to go, present tense, third person singular. And then we have mandar in the infinitive, or the whole verb. So we can actually, we have a choice there. We can either put the melo in front of the conjugated verb, like we have been doing, or we can tag it onto the end of the infinitive. Mandármelo. Not both. I mean, we have to do one or the other. Ella me lo va a mandar mañana, or ella va a mandármelo mañana. She is going to send me it tomorrow. Yeah. Vale? So notice as well, when you put it on the end of an infinitive, it actually tags onto the end. Okay, gosh, I've got to do something with my, it's just driving me mad. I think I'm just pulling it the wrong way. Well, I think that's better. Is it better? I don't know. Okay, all right. So, number 7, numero siete. I sang it for him. So in Spanish we will say, for him, it, I sang. Se lo canté. So that's one of those that should really be le lo canté, but we can't have the two L pronouns together, so the first one changes to se. Se lo canté. I sang it for him. Now we've got another one using an infinitive. Tuvimos que vendérselo. Or, because we've got a conjugated verb with tuvimos, we could also say se lo tuvimos que vender. So again, not both, you have to choose one or the other. Also, it can't go in the middle, so you can't say tuvimos que se lo vendimos. No, either has to go before the conjugated verb or tagged on to the infinitive. Tuvimos que vendérselo or se lo tuvimos que vender. So we had to sell it to them, or the order, I mean, you can put it on the end there, which is good, or you could say to them, it we had to sell. So you choose which is easier for you to remember. Another one like that, you can send it to me by email. So puedes, you can, conjugated verb. So you could put the melo in front. Or also you have an infinitive with mandar or enviar, so you can put it on the end. So you can either say, me lo puedes mandar por email, or puedes mandármelo por email, o correo electrónico también. Okay. Vale. Número 10. You must buy it for yourself. Again, we've got a conjugated verb and an infinitive, so we've got a choice of two ways to put the pronouns. Te lo debes comprar or debes comprártelo. ¿Vale? You must buy it for yourself. Or for yourself, it you must buy. Te lo debes comprar or debes comprártelo. Número 11. He didn't need to pay us for it the day before yesterday. So that's quite complicated, isn't it? But look how much shorter it is in Spanish. No necesito pagárnoslo anteayer. Or again, because we've got a conjugated verb, you could say no nos lo necesito pagar anteayer. Much shorter in Spanish. Sentences tend to be shorter. So once we click that it's different, it's actually easier. I know you probably don't believe me, but it's true. It's very simplistic, but it's English that's more complicated, really. So we have to get our brains around that, really. Okay, número 12, present tense. Why do you give it to me? ¿Por qué me lo das? So we don't have a choice there because we only have a conjugated verb. We don't have an infinitive, so the me lo has got to go in front of the das. It can't go anywhere else. ¿Por qué me lo das? Present tense of the verb give. Now, this is another time when numero 13, another time when we can put these pronouns on the end, is when we're using an ing word. So she is preparing it for herself. Now, remember, they don't use ing words so much in Spanish as we do in English. So you could just use the simple present tense and say, se lo preparó. Preparar, because it's she. Sorry, that should be a noun. Se lo prepará. Or you could use the ing word and say, ella se lo está preparando. And because it's an ing word, though, you can also tag it onto the end like you can with the infinitive. Ella está preparándosela. se lo. ¿Vale? So 3 ways you could say that sentence. Número 14. He used to buy them for himself. Él se los compraba. Imperfect, it's something he used to do, repeated basis in the past, so it's the imperfect tense. Compraba, yeah. Él se los compraba. He used to buy them for himself, or he, for himself, them, he used to buy. Vale? And the last one, another ing word. I am keeping them for you. So again, you can use the simple present. Te los guardo. Yeah. For you, them, I keep. Or go for it with the ing word and say, te los estoy guardando. Or estoy guardándotelos. Okay. So it's a good idea to go back through, maybe play the video again and stop at each sentence and see if you can make sense of it. If you've got the book, obviously those exercises, if you like, are in the book, and then there is a translation following it using the indirect object pronouns for you to practice them. Ok, ya está. Espero que comprendáis. You know, I hope you all understand. I know pronouns are difficult. Just keep plodding away at them. They're like a jigsaw. Once you learn how to put them together, what I always recommend to people to practice your pronouns, magazines like Hola, easy celebrity gossip magazines, which you might not like those sort of thing. I hate those things, but for learning Spanish, very good. The magazines are good. There's a lot of pronouns because obviously they're talking about him and her and them, etc. They did it, and it's simple language. So magazines like Hola are very good for practicing Spanish. That's my recommendation. In fact, I think I'm going to buy a couple and keep them around the school for people. Okay, vale. So, muchas gracias por mirar. Por favor, pulgadas arriba. Yeah, please give me a thumbs up if you found the video useful. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to, and then you'll be updated of new videos coming out. Any questions, please put in comments. Please drop me a message. I like to get feedback, you know, and if there's any video particular, any theme of Spanish that you would like me to address, please let me know. Ok, que tú días vaya contigo y te veo muy pronto en el próximo video. Gracias.